Foods that build and foods that destroy.
And welcome again to 6 Weeks to Wellness from inVibeHealth.com. Our host is Jan Fitzpatrick, and we are talking in this 4-part series about how to build better bones for life. And today, obviously, I guess, Jan, we're talking about foods that build,
Yes.
foods that destroy. That sounds ominous.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit what we're going to cover here.
Well, we talked about nutrients and supplements and exercise, and I think the most common thing we all do is eat. So, and the best way to get your nutrition is from the food you eat. But when it comes to bone density and healthy bones, it's really under your control. Weight-bearing exercise designs your bones, supplements fill in the gaps of your nutrition, and the foods you eat or don't eat determine your overall level of health. And it's never too late to build beautiful bones.
Most excellent. Beautiful bones sound good. So let's talk about 3 things that we're going to focus on. I'll do a quick rundown here. We're going to talk a little bit about the myth of the alkaline diet. We're going to talk about foods that destroy, and then foods that build, so that we end on a good note here. So Jan, tell me about this alkaline diet. I've heard about this. I'm thinking I'm happy that it's a myth. So tell me about this.
Oh, I'm sorry to disappoint you. It was kind of like a joke.
That was a teaser, huh? Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was a teaser. But it's actually, the alkaline diet is a very good idea. All the current research is showing it. But what the myth, there is a myth involved in it, however.
Okay.
The myth is that an acidic forming diet with meat and eggs, it's acid forming. And the old, and I'm guilty of it, I've said this before, the old way of thinking is that in order to buffer the acid-forming diet, that it steals calcium from the bones to buffer and alkalinize. That's not true. That's not true. They've done a study that shows that when you eat animal protein, yes, you have increased calcium in your urine, but it's coming from the food that you eat, not from your bones.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and what actually is happening, as women age, as men age also, but it's less true because you have stronger bones, or stronger muscles, you actually become a little more, it's called metabolic acidosis. You actually generally become more acidic because of the less efficiency in your kidneys.
Okay.
And you know, you've seen as women get older, they tend to lose muscle mass. You've seen that, a little
Sure.
weaker,
Yeah.
more frail. Well, what they realized is that the acid-forming diet actually is neutralized with the muscles broken down into amino acids.
Right.
And if you have weaker muscles, you have weaker bones. So it isn't directly the calcium is taken from the bones. It's the fact that you have weaker muscles, and so you lose bone mass because of that.
Which
So
kind of goes back to what you were saying in the previous episode about the real importance of exercise, keeping those muscles fit, and because a big part of it is that sedentary thing.
Yeah.
That, you know, a big part is that as we age, we tend to get less active, right? So you pay for it. So.
Yeah. Well, and there is age-appropriate exercising. There are always things you can do. People don't think about yoga and Tai Chi as being building muscle, but it truly does. It's using your own weight, your own body weight, and a lot of times that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do.
Oh yeah, if you look at somebody else doing Tai Chi, it looks all very nice and peaceful and relaxing.
Yeah,
when you try to do Tai Chi, you realize, holy smoke, this is actually a lot of exercise, and you can feel it in all those muscles, even though it's very low.
It's so true.
It's an illusion, folks. So get out there and do that Tai Chi. Excellent. So we don't want weaker muscles. We don't want weaker bones. We do want to focus on a healthy diet, all good stuff. So let's talk a little bit more about diet. So foods that destroy. Let's talk about the danger here first.
They're easy to find.
Yeah.
They're not hidden. If it comes in a box, it's probably acid forming. It's probably processed. If you can't pronounce the ingredients, it's probably acid forming. It probably destroys muscle and bone. A lot of caffeine will do that too, because caffeine is also acidifying. Having more than 2 alcoholic drinks a day is acidifying, and it will affect your bone health.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I found, and I kind of knew it about colas, but they add phosphates to the colas.
Yeah.
And that takes the balance, because you do have dietary phosphorus you do need. But, remember I said all those minerals like strontium and magnesium, which is extremely important, and calcium and boron, they're all very, very important. But what phosphate additives do, if you have more than you need in your diet, it throws off the whole balance. Mm-hmm. And they're added to colas just to make it a better color.
Interesting.
And they add it to meat that you find in the grocery store to enhance the color and to create less purge, because consumers don't like to see blood around their meats. So if they add phosphates, there's less of that. It just holds the water more. That's the purge. That's what's called purge. It holds the water. So just know that weight you're paying for in your meat, there's a lot of water in there if they add the phosphates, which they generally do.
Not to mention, if you really saw untreated meat, you probably would. Yeah. We'd have more vegetarians probably, because there's a lot of doctoring that goes to make the meat look all enticing. In that case, all bright red and clean and neat and tidy. It's there's a little cheating going on there, right? And as you said, maybe that's not healthy.
Well, it is not healthy. I would suggest if you are a meat eater that you buy local and you know your farmer. You know the person that raised that meat. You know it's organic. You know it's grass-fed.
Right.
And there are many places that you can
a lot
find
more farmers
healthier
markets.
Meat.
Sure, absolutely. So we've talked about the ominous foods here, the foods that destroy. So let's shift to the happy topic of foods that build.
Yes, this is really fun because a lot of things popped up that I didn't expect. Well, we talked about how important vitamin K2 is, and you can take supplements, but you can also eat fermented foods. And one of the traditional fermented foods in Japan is natto, very high in K2. It really isn't usually something we like to eat in the West because it's kind of stinky, literally.
I haven't even heard of it, actually. This is news.
Yeah. And then there's a way of fermenting. Well, most traditional cultures have fermented foods. Sauerkraut, Japanese, that's German, or natto. And there's also fermented vegetables, Korea, kimchi, the real fermented vegetables. You actually use special bacteria. And I know that it's B. subtilis, and you use it to ferment that, and that particular bacteria produces a lot of K2 naturally. A couple of and if you consider cheeses, they're also fermented. There's bacteria that works on them. And Brie and Gouda cheeses, that bacteria form a lot of K2, more than some of the other cheeses. There's another cheese called Edam, E-D-A-M. I've never had that one, but that also
Dutch cheese,
It is a Dutch cheese. Thank you, Grant. I will try it. I will try it now that I know.
It's a lot milder. It's a lot milder, but it's good. Yeah, it's very good.
Is it a hard cheese or is it a soft cheese?
It's a medium cheese, I would say.
Okay. And if you eat grass-fed, organic eggs, butter, and dairy, of course we know to do it sour dairy or yogurt, and goose liver pate are also wonderful sources of K2. Well, and some of that's just to really focus on the foods that are support healthy levels of K2. The bones, this is true for everything, but bones love lots of high-quality organic local vegetables. And a recent study showed, in fact, I just got this study on my email yesterday, so it really is a recent study. Woo! It showed that a diet rich in fruits and vegetables may prevent hip fractures. And if you think of all those of course they're alkaline, but if you think of all those wonderful minerals that are in there, it probably has a lot to do with it. The fun thing was fennel. I know we don't usually think of eating fennel, but when you go to Indian restaurants, what do you have as you leave? You have that fennel to chew on for digestion. Did you know that also slows bone loss? It affects the cells that break down bone. It just, not a lot, but a little bit. It kind of gives you a little bit of a balance as you age, because we know you lose more bone as you get older, so just naturally. So this might be a little help, and it also would improve your digestion. We talked about how good that would be. And I don't know, onions. This was really fun to find out too. Onions actually enhance mineral absorption.
I like me some onions,
Yes.
so that's good.
Oh, that's really good. And there's another myth. We have one more myth to talk
All right,
about.
another myth to bust here.
That's, yep, a myth buster. The last one is the phytates myth. You may have heard about this. You may not have heard about it.
Yeah, I'd have to know what a phytate is in order to understand that there was a myth that you can now bust for me. So this is all going to happen all at once for me.
Right. So the good news is, but we used to think that people who ate a lot of phytates had it would soften your bones. However, what we found is that women with the highest phytate levels had the lowest levels of bone loss in the spine and hip, with a significant lower risk of major fractures and a lower risk of hip fractures specifically. And that's kind of, I love that, because that sort of brings everything we've talked about in the whole series together and focused on a group of foods. And I can't believe they thought this, but they thought that nuts, whole grains, and legumes were not good for you. And now you are, go ahead and eat all the nuts, whole grains, and legumes that you wish. Legumes or beans as well.
Yeah.
They're very good for you.
Well, so you've just added to the list of about the dozens of reasons that it's a good idea to get more fruits and vegetables and nuts and legumes in your diet. So now you've got one more. If you're doing it for your bones as well as just about every other part of your body, right? I mean, we could add that part to just about any health topic. It's a big change that most people could make. So we're wrapping up our 4-part series here on how to build better bones for life. If you missed any of the earlier episodes, I'll tell you how to get them in just a second here. But just to recap, we've been talking about the myth of the alkaline diet. We've been talking about foods that destroy and then foods that build. It's actually very interesting stuff. I mean, it seems that our ancestors may have had much healthier diets than we do. Go figure. That we now create all this overproduced stuff. So I said, if you missed any of the other episodes, how do you get them? Well, you get them very easily. You go to invibehealth.com and you get connected with Jan Fitzpatrick, where she's got tons of great information there and a great offer for you, which is that her Amazon.com book's available to you free. You just click on that little book banner on the website, and it'll pop open, and you can get a copy of the book for free, and you'll actually get on Jan's mailing list so you don't miss out on notifications about what's happening, what she's creating, what she's doing, programs that she's got, but also these important series. So this is the 4th in a 4-part series on how to build better bones for life. Get the book. Get on the mailing list, get connected to all this great information that Jan works very hard to produce for you. We know that she works very hard. We watch her doing it. So, invibehealth.com. Jan, I look forward to seeing what is your next magical creation of another series coming up. I know we'll find out about it very soon. So thanks for the Better Bones series here.
Oh, well, thanks for joining us. I look forward to seeing you again soon.